Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news with a sale update for Manchester United incoming. Sorry for being a little bit late, but I wasn't even meant to be doing a show tonight because I am doing Chelsea versus Liverpool on That's Football, which will be live on after this. But there has been, in the last hour or so, some update on Manchester United and the sale, and it sort of fits in with what I was told last night and spoke to you about this morning. Glazers are holding it up. And also this story that the British government might have an issue with Qatar is complete and utter nonsense. Well, Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail, he's been very good around the sale of Manchester United. He's put an article out this afternoon which basically confirms what we were talking about at lunchtime. And we'll get straight into that because the reality is that on the sale at the moment, we need it to move quicker. We talk about what the summer plans are. We talk about momentum and progress next season, but the handbrake is on. We can't do anything in the transfer market if we're still owned by the Glazers, and they are holding this process up. Yes, the second bids were delayed by 48 hours, but it's been over a week now since those bids went in, and nobody knows what's happening. The Rain Group are in control of the sale, or prospective sale for the Glazers, but right now, neither Sir Jim, Qatar, Al Thani or anybody has heard anything about what's going to happen. There is a hope that they will hear something before Easter, which is Thursday night. But if we don't, we're going into next week and another week. And look, if it's another round of bidding, we're going to be end of May before we even start to begin to think who might go into the exclusive final period. And then it's, you're well into June and the window's open. I've always had this fear, and I think it's becoming very close to being a reality, whereby the summer transfer window opens and United is still under Glazer ownership. So maybe we're being played, maybe not, I don't know. But let's get into the update. Tyrrell says, are you doing a watch along for Chelsea versus Liverpool? 8 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be straight after this, yes. Right, let's get some stuff on the screen for you so you can read the latest quotes that are going on. And the first one would be this. Here we go. Those behind the Qatar-based bid for Manchester United don't believe there will be any opposition from the UK government should they be successful in their bid. Should be successful in their bids. They do not believe they will face any government opposition should they succeed in the battle for the Premier League giants. Bidders are hopeful that they will get a response from the Rain Group by Easter, following their delayed bids last month. And senior figures in the UK government have privately said they would actually welcome Qatar-based investment at Manchester United, despite opposition from LGBTQ and human rights groups, especially if it will include community funding, which has previously been mentioned. A report from Bloomberg stated that the senior officials working on football governance may put pressure on the Premier League to ask questions should the bid be the chosen one by the Glazer family. Those involved in the bid have no concerns over such a scenario. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, then the harsh reality is, and I said this at lunchtime, is that this story, for me, just feels like a little bit, again, like an attempt to undermine a bid that some people are uncomfortable with, but they're in the minority. We've seen it with certain people in the media. There are certain journalists who, basically make a living off Manchester United who don't want us to be owned by Qatar. And they know they're going to be outed as hypocrites in a year's time when they're still following Man United around the world, but they've been openly against the new ownership model. That's great and very noble. Make a decision and go and work somewhere else, but you won't do that. So what they're trying to do desperately is undermine this bid to try and make it stop happening, but they won't comprehend the fact that they're the minority. They still think they're the majority. It's a bit like Ten Hag and Pochettino. They thought everyone wanted Pochettino and they didn't. They think nobody wants Qatar and they do. And I feel like with this, the story's really flawed. I mean, you read what Mike Keegan says, and he says what this is all about is that let me just get the actual quotes from the article. Here it is. So the reservations that apparently the government have relate to the branch of Qatar Islamic Bank, of which Sheikh Jassim Al Thani has been chairman since 2006. So they had some financial restriction. They had a fine of 1.4 million, which was imposed in 2016 for a violation of capital requirements, which left the firm exposed to high levels of risk. However, it related to a breach which occurred in 2011, which is 12 years ago. And also to this, the Qatari Islamic Bank is also not the vehicle Al Thani is going to use to bid for Manchester United. He set up the 9-2 Foundation and is acting as a private individual. So the reality is that this this is all about a fine that a bank that Al Thani is involved with got in 2016 for an incident in 2011. This is not going to be a barrier to them buying Manchester United. And actually, as we were talking about, I think it was at lunchtime or this morning, the amount of investment that will be pumped into Manchester United through a Qatari bid is huge. And at this moment, the British government needs that because, well, a lot of countries do. You know, it's not, you know, cost of living crisis, whatever you want to call it, COVID, you know, and all the costs that brought in. Investment into your country at the moment is pretty important. And I think that a 1.6 million fine for a bank back in 2016, which isn't the bank that's going to buy Manchester United, is not going to stop. I mean, look, basically, if you take this as read, government officials might not be happy about Manchester United being bought by Qatari investor Al Thani because he had a fine for the bank he works for in 2016 of 1.4 million. Yeah, that'd be a really clever idea to say don't buy Man United when he's going to probably pump billions into the Manchester area. So it's 1.4 million against billions of investment. Yeah, no idiot's going to have a problem with that. So I personally just think what's happening here is, and you know, it's all down to personal opinion, I just think it's, again, creating an issue that realistically is just about trying to undermine the fact that nobody wants, or certain people don't want, Middle Eastern investment into Manchester United. But as I said many a times, and other people have said it, the horse is bolted on that. Abu Dhabi own Manchester City. Saudi Arabia own Newcastle. What difference does it make if someone from Qatar owns Manchester United? It's already happening. People, you know, it's like trying to put a fire out when it's already burnt the house down. Like, it's gone. You know, it's over. Like, so, I said it this morning, and, you know, fair play to Mike Keegan for writing the article. We discussed this morning, and I said, I don't believe it. I personally feel that it's ridiculous because I actually think the government will be pro this bid because of the investment into the area and into the economy. And secondly, I feel, again, like it's fishing for an issue to try and undermine this particular bid. And, you know, I actually got copied into something about Sir Jim Radcliffe today. I haven't even read it yet, but it's not gone mainstream. And it was about why Sir Jim Radcliffe would be a bad owner for Manchester United. I haven't got round to reading it yet. And when I have, I'll certainly be reporting fairly, because we seem to be reporting a lot about Qatar. Remember when we got the bid in from Qatar that they were always going on about PSG, 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 PSG. No one was talking about Nice, that Sir Jim Radcliffe actually owns. So I think you've got to try and be equal with these things. But most important of all, the main part of this for me is really what is in the article about where we're at. We expected something on Friday. People close to the bid in relation to journalists expected something on Friday. It's now Tuesday night. We still haven't got anything, but we have had this update that they're hoping to get something by Thursday. And really, it will either be the club are going to work ahead with one bidder, or they're going to go to another round of bids. Hi Mark, please just get the Glazers out, says Gary. Such articles could fog the judgment of the fans who are on the fence and might not do the due diligence, says Neil. And Jeff, thank you, welcome to Members Club. Well, that's our job, isn't it, as a community, is to be fair and distribute, you know, common sense. It's as I say, it's where we're going with the sale. I'm really hoping that the club are going to stick to what was leaked, that this third round would actually be moving ahead with one bidder, so that we can get to the finish line. I fear we're going to have another round of bids. And if we've got another round of bids, I think it really impacts the summer transfer window, because how can you be buying players? I don't get it. I mean, somebody said the other day, there is money to spend even if the Glazers stay. But imagine this scenario. This is why I'm scared, right? Imagine the Glazers are going to say, there's money to spend. Don't worry about the delay in the sale because there's money to spend anyway. And some idiots will go, yeah, it don't matter, Goldbridge. There's still money to spend. It take as long as it takes, yeah? Look at the January transfer window. Absolute shambles. Right, so summer transfer window. The Glazers say, don't worry. There's still money to be spent. Even if we don't sell the club till Christmas, there's still money to spend now. Right, well, there's a very big difference between what Al Thani and Radcliffe will do and what the Glazers will do. If the Glazers offer up £100 million and we buy Harry Kane, and that's it, people will go, oh, they've spent money. They've spent money. It took all summer, but they've spent money compared to what I think Al Thani's first summer would be. And I think that would be statement striker, statement midfielder, and a centre-back. That's a very different summer. And it's a very different summer anyway, because if the Glazers say you've got £100 million to spend, Eric, it's probably going to be Harry Kane. If Al Thani comes in and says, get whatever striker you want, it could be Osman. So this is the difference. I'm sure the Glazers will put up some money this summer, but it won't be what we'd get under Al Thani. And I'm even going to admit I'm a little bit unfair here because, look, Sir Jim Radcliffe's probably going to spend more than the Glazers as well. We just don't know what Sir Jim Radcliffe's plan is. Is he looking to spend a lot of money in the first summer? I think he would do because it's all about getting the fans on side. So I would even throw in Sir Jim and Al Thani into the same thing. If they get the club for this summer, they're going to spend more than what the Glazers are going to spend. But some people will go, oh, it don't matter. It don't matter because there's still money to be spent. There is still money to be spent. But it's like a tight arse spending money and, you know, a generous person spending money. The Glazers will spend money, but it won't be enough compared to, and we've all seen it before. We've seen it with Man City. We've seen it with Newcastle. When the new owners come in, they want to impress the fans. That's not because they're pulling the wool over our eyes. That's because they want us to be excited. They want to be liked. They want to build momentum around the change. And there will be a very, very big difference between what this summer transfer window will be with new owners and what it will be with the Glazers. So that's my big concern at the moment. How quick are we going to move? Now, there is a silver lining. I don't know why I'm doing that. There is a silver lining. If the Glazers and the Rain Group came out on Thursday and said, right, there's no more bids. We've got the bid that we want to work with, and we're going to work with it over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Well, that takes us to the end of April. But by the end of April, we should have a new owner, confirmed. And then once that new owner's confirmed, you can start working on the summer transfer window. But if we go to another round of bids, then everything gets pushed back by 3 or 4 weeks. We've got to get to the point where we know the person who's going to buy the club. And even, I'm not saying that could be good news, but, at least we'd be moving. 45 Summit, thank you very much for joining the members club. That 300 million loan, most of which will go on paying the last year's purchases and loans, nothing left for the summer, says Sally Devil Red. I've seen a few people, I think it was mentioned by The Athletic, that there's a 300 million pound amount of money that can be used. When have Man United ever spent 300 million pounds? And also we're nearly £1 billion in debt. So yeah, I don't trust anything of this. Glenny Boy says it won't just be the incomings affected by the sale. The Glazers seem reluctant to let players go, whereas a new owner will hopefully do whatever is needed. And I think that's a great point by Glenny Boy as well. Not only do I think the quality of players that we bring in and the volume of players we bring in will be impacted if the Glazers keep this running, I agree it will also impact on the players that we sell, because I just think the Glazers are, I don't even think it, I know they're about the money. Are they going to walk into the club and say, if Eric Ten Hag says, I want to sell Harry Maguire, the Glazers will go, well, we paid £80 million for him, he's on £200,000 a week. If you can get someone to pay £50 million for him and pay his wages, then you can go and do it. And we won't, so he'll have to stay. Whereas I think if we get new owners who are looking to, clear the debt, get the club back on, the straight and narrow, I think they would say to Ten Hag, right, okay, we'll get what we can from him and we'll move him on, because in the long term, that's better for the club. So I think Glenny Boy's absolutely right. Bourbon with Friends, you're a legend. He's just gifted a membership there. Thank you very much for that. Jacob says, I can't bear another year with the Glazers owning us. I don't think they will, but I'm greedy. We have standards. I'm genuinely concerned and have been concerned for a while that time is running out on how this is going to impact the summer transfer window. And the problem with the summer transfer window is they might sell us in August, but that month delay will cost us a year, because if we haven't got new owners till August, most of the good business will be done, and then you've got to wait till next summer, and it costs you a year. That 1 month, we've got a deadline, we've got to move fast. And also, it's such an opportunistic summer transfer window, isn't it? There are so many attackers out there. There are so many midfielders out there. There are so many opportunities out there. It's a unique summer transfer window. There's no Euros, there's no World Cup, there's lots of options. You can really get some good business done if you've got the right ownership. And, if we miss this summer transfer window and we still get new ownership, you've got to wait a year to have another opportunity. And then next summer, you have got the Euros and there might not be the abundance of talent that's about there. So it's such a big opportunity, and I just don't want us to miss it. But the Glazers are slow, and they're being slow on purpose, because ultimately, as we know, it's all about the money, isn't it? It's all about the money. Malps is a legend. He's a member. He says it's been 10 years and counting without a title. Lee Berman's a member. He says this needs finalising by the middle of April at the very latest for us to stand a chance in the transfer window. Well, look, I don't want to worry people, but in some cases, it's already too late. Like the Jude Bellingham case, unless he waits to see what happens with Man United, he's already gone to Liverpool, Man City or Real Madrid, because they're already talking to him. There will be some strikers where clubs are saying we're not... Well, there'll be some transfers where certain clubs are saying we're not talking to anyone until June, which gives us a chance. Osman, Kane, probably Ramos at Benfica. But there will be other deals where players are available to be spoken to. And, you know, you need to know what your summer budget is for that, because there is competition. If the Glazers are here, we will get Harry Kane, and that's about it, says Aaron. And Malps is definitely a legend, says Ladios. Glazers out, Qatar in now, says Julie. And if the Glazers were smart, they would spend whatever we need and make the new owner take up the tab when they come in, says Finn. And last year we had trouble getting players to join us because we didn't have Champions League. Now looks like we will, but we won't have the backers. We're stuck with the Glazers, says Darren. Well, I think the big question is that a lot of people, when you get frustrated, is do you think the Glazers are going to stay, Mark? Thank you for all you do, Mark, says Omar. Well, thank you very much for watching. I don't. I don't think they're going to stay. I think logically they won't stay. We know that we've got a definite $500 million of debt. We know that there's probably another $500 million of debt that's hidden by what we owe on transfers and loans, etc. There is also another $1 billion to $2 billion that needs to be spent on the stadium, and there's probably another $1 billion that needs to be spent on infrastructure. So if the Glazers stay, they've got to find about $3 or $4 billion. Otherwise, well, they don't have to find it. If they want the club to be successful, they've got to find $3 or $4 billion. If they don't find it, the club will crumble more than it is at the moment, and there'll just be sort of fan civil war, won't they, against the club? So I just don't see how they're going to stay. And somebody might say, well, you know what, they might get investment from the Elliott Group or something like that. But all that does is dilute their ownership, dilute their profits, prevent them being able to take dividends. The Glazer model is to hold everything, all the power, and then take money out of the club. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. What the Glazers don't realise, or I think they do realise, is they had a really big cow that was ripe for milking, and they milked it dry, and they didn't look after it, and they didn't feed it, and they didn't keep it healthy, and now it's a very skinny cow that can't produce milk anymore. And to do that, you're going to have to spend a load of money to get that cow back up, and they won't be able to do it. So I think that's why I'm convinced they will sell. My biggest concern is that we get the right buyer. That's all it's about for me. Mickey G, welcome to the Members Club. And they're not bothered if we're successful, says Chris. Yeah, but you know what? Even if we're... I mean, I think if the Glazers stay, we probably won't be successful, but they can't make money out of us anymore. So, you know, the time is right, isn't it? You've got to go now. And also, here's another angle I haven't heard before. They want 5 billion. They want 6 billion. It's too much money. But now's probably the time they can get that. If they say we're going to stay and we'll sell it in 3 or 4 years' time, that I can see a scenario where United become really, really in trouble. Where, you know, maybe the fans start taking things to a different level, and suddenly they're almost forced out, so they've got to sell it for 3 billion. I think now is the time to sell if they want to get a good price for it. Somebody's advising them that they might be able to get 8 or 9 billion in 5 years' time. No. Not a chance. You can't take Man United up to 8 or 9 billion in value by not spending any money. You'll spend the 4 billion to make it worth 9 billion, so you may as well take the 5 billion now. So, you know, and actually if you do get that 4 or 5 billion to invest, you're going to dilute your profit because you're going to give it to some, you know, you're going to have to sell part of your club. Now's the time for the Glazers to go. I'm convinced they will go. I'm just worried about how long they're taking. Warrior says, evening Mark, I've just tuned in. How come the talks are dragging out? Sorry if you've covered it. I think it's dragging out, Warrior. And I think that's a great question, by the way. So if you've tuned in a little bit late, Al Thani of Qatar and Ineos Sajim are still waiting to happen, see what's going to happen with Manchester United. There's hope that there'll be an announcement by Thursday night about what the next stage is, but that's not guaranteed. Why is there a delay? I think there is a delay because the Glazers are thinking about their next move. And what I mean by that is they're thinking what to do next. Do they try and push another bidding round and see if people push their bids up? Or do they get real and just go ahead with one of the bidders and try and push them up? Basically, they're thinking about what their next move is, and the longer they take about it, I suppose it's a good thing, because does another round of bids push people's offers up? Or does working ahead with one bidder push a bid up? I think that's what they're thinking of doing. And the Rain Group are probably advising them that, this is about as good as it's going to get, let's move forward. Or they'll be saying, I think it is worth another round of bids, because they haven't got the bidding war they think. I think they thought they were going to get 6 billion offers, and they're nowhere near that at the moment. So I think they're thinking about their next step. And ultimately, if we're completely Thomas Frank, the reason for that is because they're trying to get more money. There's no care for you, Ten Hag, the club, success on the pitch, the summer transfer window. It's all about how do we get more money out of this club, which is what it's always been. Kevin says, unrelated to anything, what are ticket prices over there for a game? I love United, but I'm not paying $245 for decent seats for a tour in San Diego, says Kevin. Man United tickets vary in price. If you can actually get hold of face value tickets, they're a lot cheaper than $245. But obviously, tickets at Man United go for all sorts of prices because people sell them. The Glazers are dragging this out because they don't care about the club, says Jan. And the next stage is Glazers want 7 or 8 billion, says Lillis. Well, and that's something to be scared about, isn't it? Because how long does this go on for? We just need this to get resolved ASAP. So the next update's going to be really, really interesting. But I agree with Michael JW. The Rain Group will extend this, and they'll go for another round of bidding, and then we're fucked. Sorry to swear, but we are. If it goes to that next round, look, it's very logical, isn't it? If they say we're moving ahead with Qatar as the sole bidder, then we're getting close to the finishing line. If they say there's another round of bids, then we've probably got another 2-3 weeks, and another 2 weeks after that, it's easily another month to get with where we would be now if they went with the final bidder. We'd lose another month, and then it's May. So, I'm terrified of that update, but it probably is going to be that update. And, like Miguel says, do you think you get to a point where Qatar or Sajim will walk? I don't know. They're very engaged in trying to buy us. They're not the ones, though, are they? Like, if they're sat there going, I need this club by June so I can buy players. If you know you're not going to get it in June, does that mean you walk away? You probably don't walk away, do you? Because you're like, well, it's not my fault, and I still want to get it, even though I'm not getting it when I want to get it. Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting, I think, how it pans out. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. The Glazers are playing games, says Lisa. I don't think they're playing games, Lisa. I think they're just trying to get more money, which is, what they're all about. There we go. Simon says he pays about £50 for a ticket. And financial fair play with equals the Qatar, says Rolf. I think all the interested parties should walk away to get a lower price and call the Glazers bluff. Yes, not great for you fans, but they're cheaper clubs out there, says Daniela Stewart. What I'm hearing, we won't have a different owner by the end of the season, says Rita. And Glazers are hell-bent on making us suffer, says Alex. The Glazers don't care about us. I mean, you think about it. One of them turns up at the Carabao Cup final. People are booing them, singing Glazers out. They've got posters and that. At what point have they ever, over the last 17 years, thought, you know what, I really care about this fan base. I really want to do what's best for them. There are people like this in the world where money is their god, and that's what it is. That's what it is. Will you do a Chelsea versus Liverpool watch along straight after this, Hans? Well, give me 5 minutes to go and wash my hands and have a piss. But yeah, we will be doing a Liverpool Chelsea watch along. Lewis Jackson says, I absolutely love the United stand. Thank you very much, mate. And La Familia is a new member. Welcome to the club. Thank you very much for joining and supporting the channel. One question, says John, do we know what the others are bidding? I mean, that's an interesting question. 5 billion max is what somebody's bid. Yeah, there was talk of 6, but it's around 5 billion that everybody's bid, and I think everyone's bid around the same as well. So yeah, look, if I'm being completely honest, if I was the Glazers, I wouldn't do another round of bids. What does that do for you? I wouldn't do another round of bids. I would pick up the phone to Al Thani, and I would say, look, we can do another round of bids, and we'll probably push the bids up to 5.25, and then we'll probably end up going with you anyway on a final bid thing, and we'll say 5.5 billion, and it's yours. Do you want us to go through the final bid process, or should we just crack on working a deal out that's close to 5.5 billion, and we'll get it done a lot quicker? And that's what I would do. But it's nothing to do with me, is it? And if Al Thani says, look, I'm not going above 5 billion anyway, you just say, well, at least, look, we've had the chat, you're out. I see the WWE being valued at 7 billion for their merger with UFC. I bet the Glazers will use that as a comparison to justify their price next, says Glennie. But this is what I mean. This is what I mean. There's no deadline in place. Like, if the Glazers do say what Glennie Boy does, let's carry on for months. Like, we might completely... Look, this is my biggest problem. It's not that they won't sell. It's that they will just drag it out. They'll drag it out over the summer. We might still be going through a bidding process in October. This summer transfer window could be a bloody nightmare because the Glazers are still in charge. What's to stop it? There's no deadline. There is no deadline. It's just about, and I said this before, if you said to the Glazers, if the Rain Group said to the Glazers, you can sell the club now and you'll get 5 billion, but if you wait 6 months, you'll get 6 billion. They're going to wait 6 months. We as fans need to put pressure on the Rain Group. HQ is in Midtown, New York. Their phones can only handle so much volume. Sorry to be the fire starter, says Sumi. And Mark, do you think it's having an impact on the players about the takeover being on their minds? No. Warrior, no. I've spoken to a few ex-players about this. I've spoken to a few current players about this. Whether they're just very self-centered or very good at blocking out noise, they're not into that. The Super League stuff didn't really impact on them. Playing behind closed doors probably had more of an impact, having to play with no fans. Look, some football players are very selfish. You chant their name, but ultimately they'd go and play for Real Madrid if they offered them more money. That's, footballers have to be very self-centered. They have a short career, and they've got enough to focus on about themselves. I mean, there's very few players in that Man United side that are guaranteed to start every game. So, quite rightly, the modern footballer is focused on themselves, their performance, and whether they're going to play football. What difference does it make to Delo or Fred or Weghorst or Sancho or Anthony, who the owners are? They're all battling for their careers at Manchester United in one way, shape or form. So I don't think it impacts on them. It's not why we lost to Newcastle, no. Minimum of 5.5 billion of investment to stay. Infrastructure, stadium and buying of the Glazers out. Ricky thought Weghorst and Scott over Bruno and Marcus, says Cyber. Hey, I love Ricky. And, it's all about opinion, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, look, it's mad, but it's an opinion. Thought on Zaba to AFC Richmond, says Happy. Don't know what that's all about. PSY says, is there any way the bidders could put pressure on the Glazers to be faster? Not unless they're all working together. I don't think so, no. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Is this season a total failure if we don't get top 4? Says Jesse. Well, considering I didn't think we'd get top 4 in the first place, no. But from this point, you'd be very disappointed to miss out on it, wouldn't you? So it depends what your long-term and your short-term objectives are, and they're all changeable. At the start of the season, if you'd said we'd get 5th place and a trophy, I probably would have said that's about right. But from this point, if we finished 5th place and a trophy, I'd say we bottled it. So, yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to be over on That's Football in about 5 minutes. So I've just got to plug the TV in and change over the stream. So we'll continue the conversation over there. There's your update. We'll be back in the morning as normal, unless something breaks tonight. But I'm going to be on That's Football in about 5 minutes. So I'll push you over there now. And let's get ready for watching a game of football. There's a few games going on tonight. Speak to you in a bit.